Blog Talk Radio.
Hi everyone, this is Camille from sunny California, and you're listening to the Coffee Chat with Camille show, which is the podcast series that interviews various guests about real-life topics for people who love to learn.
Hey everyone, we have a wonderful guest on. His name is, he's an award-winning journalist, Kristof Morrow, and the title of the show is Tourette with author and award-winning journalist Kristof Morrow. He's a Navy veteran, author of The Second Son, and award-winning journalist living and working with the crippling Tourette syndrome. He says, I'm a veteran author and journalist who sold over 1,200 copies of my debut book, The Second Son, after going viral on TikTok in June. Growing up, I was the third born, but the first to graduate from high school. I was viciously abused. They both have suffered from some form of addiction. He was viciously abused by his parents. I taught myself to write while serving the U.S. Navy as a corpsman right after high school, and after leaving, I learned a university education wasn't for me, despite winning the highest award for short fiction and poetry at 2 different colleges in their annual creative writing contest. While living in Louisiana, a film director hired me to help complete his script, and I got to work on a film set. I became an EMT around the age of 23, then a 9/11 dispatcher at 26, the age of 26, before earning, by audition, a job at a newspaper. I was 27 years old and won awards from 2 Texas press associations for feature writing and photography. Amidst this time and in earlier years, I would exchange letters with Pulitzer Prize-winning writer Robert Olen Butler. I later became sober from alcohol as my Tourette's manifested in a way I could no longer ignore, and I spent 5 years battling worsening symptoms and not writing a word. Several dozen times a day, my tics forced me to slap, punch, and claw myself in the face. Okay, and all right, so what we're going, that's a brief bio about Kristof, okay? And then he's going to come in the studio and talk to us again because, we had a little issue last time. Hi, Kristof. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning.
Good morning. So happy to have you back. It was so interesting how there was just nothing but commercials, during our last interview. And I was like, oh, my goodness. So at any rate, I thank you. I appreciate you coming back. Can you just please tell our audience and our listeners about your military career?
Oh, sure. I went into the Navy right out of high school. I wanted to be a corpsman, which is a medic. And generally, corpsmen go to Fleet Marine Force training and become medics for the Marines. Like wherever they go, that's where the corpsman goes to. Wherever they hike, the long hikes they go to, and often with much more, the medical equipment also on top of their regular gear. But I worked in a hospital setting, and I really enjoyed that work. But about a year or so in, I had what looked like a seizure, and which what I would later learn is when I was 26 or 27, I would learn is Tourette's. Yeah, and so I wasn't deployable anymore, which meant that I couldn't be in the military anymore. So I left about
Yes, and I saw that you were honorably medically discharged. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
right. Yes, and then how did you become an author?
Well, one word at a time, right? So it was honestly I've been writing since I was I started when I was 19, of course, like more seriously, a rather concerted effort in trying to offer myself instruction through like reading like the classics, right? Because I've always been fascinated by the notion of immortality in this sense that you could earn it in a strange way, and so that's what I meant to do is to do something. I wanted to do something extraordinary, and the writing was revealed to me when I was 13, when we had to write a letter to soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. That I had a great passion for it, and I had a predisposition for it. I had a propensity for it, and it felt like music, and it was the most meaningful thing I've ever been able to do. So I think it's a combination of so many factors that lead me to be this obsessive. I try to be observant and fascinated with stories and romance of sharing. Yeah. So that's why I started writing.
Excellent. And then I do see that you're are you a 2-time award winner, 3-time, 5-time? A lot of award winning going on. I think.
Yeah.
Right? It's excellent. Which is congratulations to you, by the way. And then I think you said you received an award for your article. Was it on Hurricane Harvey?
Yeah. So during Hurricane Harvey. There was like pretty sparse reporting because all of the roads leading into the city were flooded completely, and so I was with who's now my ex, my friend. We were walking, and we came upon a church in a National Guard truck, and I took a photograph of a woman being lifted into like a canopied truck, and that won an award from the Texas Press Association. Yeah, and then yeah. So.
Excellent. And then could you please talk a little bit or inform our listeners and our audience about the nature of your disability, which is known as Tourette's or Tourette syndrome?
Mm-hmm. So Tourette syndrome, Tourette's itself, so the word syndrome is meant to describe a pattern of behaviors, but the underlying cause is unknown. So my Tourette's, it manifested first when I was 19 and I was in the Navy, of course, but most of the time Tourette's appears much younger. I happen to be quite an extraordinary case. In fact, my diagnosis would be outside the criteria of the DSM-5, which says that you have to be 18 or younger. You have to be 18 or younger in order to have tics presented before that time, before you can. That's just, I mean, I'm living proof that that's not true. But it's otherwise right. So it's a neurological disorder, and I lose control of my limbs and my speech sometimes. And I can do great injury to myself. And like even to other people, if I'm like, for example, if I'm petting my cat and I have my face close to her ears, I could scream, and it would hurt. It could hurt her, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I injure myself mostly though. I've given myself black eyes and bloody lips, and I punch myself in the throat, in the ears, and in the groin, and it's pretty vicious. It's a lot to deal with.
I could imagine. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then, what was it like to live in Louisiana?
Louisiana is such an interesting place because it is it's a southern state, and it has the personality of a southern state and the conditions of a southern state. But I think they voted in a Democrat as governor, and they have a large Catholic population. The people there in Louisiana, though, are the loveliest people in the country, like easily. Louisiana has the kind, like everyone. It's really the love and the want to share is very real over there. so you're often you end up going to a party or like somewhere every weekend. Just go like it could be a crawfish boil, and there's just a bunch of people with their kids, and it's a whole thing, and it's just really it's a very like, and also there's like a festival every weekend. It's amazing. It's like so it's wholesome. It's not like there are people just drugged out everywhere. It's like it's fun.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. And then the last time I didn't have a chance to ask you this question, but I was curious about your creative processes when you are working on writings or on being when you are an author.
Mm-hmm. So my creative process, the number one concern every writer should have, it doesn't matter what you're doing, every writer should have, the most important quality is their characters. There is nothing else as more important or even as important. It's characters, period. They're the most important thing. So I generally try to develop some kind of intimate relationship with the character and an understanding of everything. I allow them to develop themselves, and it's also it's like subconscious. It's like doing something subconsciously. It's handed off underneath the cloak. You can't see it happening, but it happens. Another thing is I try to keep it grounded to reality. The thing about being a journalist is that you have to be quite lean with your work, and you can't being verbose or superfluous is not an option generally. And so you have to also consider that what you're saying, if you're building the history of a world, try not to write it as evidence. You don't consider it evidence. So a lot of people try to develop they want to convince the audience that this world is real and is consequential in some sense. So yeah, let's see. I mean, there's so much. I mean,
yes.
It's I guess the most important thing, other than characters, though, is when you look at a word, you should be thinking about the 10,000 things that are associated with that word, and find the most compelling version of that. It's music. It's all about music and all that. It's so much, but yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. And then for our last question, actually, or just some background, can you please tell our audience about your, I think it's the Second Son book that went viral, I think.
Yeah.
And then also just a little bit about just a synopsis of what the Second Son is about.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, my book, it was in the late June. I made a TikTok account. And I needed to. I wanted to discuss my Tourette's. I had to. So that's what I did. I tried to establish a relationship with my audience, discussing my own sufferings. These are things that I actually endure, and they really do cause me a great deal of distress, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the other thing is I wanted to. Sorry, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember where was it?
Yeah. So I just asked about your debut book, and then the Second Son, and how it was going by, the whole viral TikTok. Okay.
Right. So after about 3 weeks of discussing my Tourette's and how it affects me publicly and everything, I made a video that ended up prompting a woman to buy my book and then review it. She really loved it so much, and I made a video about that, about how wonderful it felt. And then the next day, 2 more people bought my book, and I made a video about that. Now, that video prompted a bunch of people to buy the book, and it got me all the way down to the number 247 on the Epic Fantasy category on Amazon the next day. And I made that video that I made that morning discussing my new ranking. That video went viral, and then the one after that, where I was like number 47 or even something like that, it went down to it got all the way down to like number 8 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was extraordinary. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then
sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just realized you had the other half of that. The second side is about a literal paradise that exists in an otherwise outside of this paradise where you cannot go unless you live there or you're allowed to come there. Everyone else lives in a sort of really Game of Thrones cutthroat type world, but there's no magic, which is the really frustrating part for that part of the world, because there is something resembling magic in paradise, and it's really just it's as if like the book is watching these things happening. It's not really it's not really directed. It's hard to explain, but the first chapter is about one part of the world. The second's about a different part, and then the third chapter is again about different parts, different characters, and then those stories continue throughout the book, and eventually maybe converge. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And then I did have another question, actually. Could you please share with our audience, as a journalist, what types of articles did you write, and what were what were their genres?
Yeah. So I did. I started in sports, and agriculture, and then I went on to doing news. I was like the main news writer, and I've done like court cases, features, city hall meetings, voting, registration information. I mean, just like everything. Just like a little bit of everything, really.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Kristof. And then, was there anything else that you would like to share with our audience about you and your life?
I don't know. Kindness is goodness, and try to live that.
Thank you. Got it. Thank you so much. Okay, and then what is your favorite coffee and/or hot beverage?
My favorite coffee. Favorite coffee. I like. There's a place called Tim Hortons in Canada, and they're open early enough, and I go there every morning to have a large coffee with like 3 cream and 3 sugar. I'm pretty basic because I don't eat a lot for breakfast, and I like to get to work right away, and so that's what I do. It's like a little ritual I have.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. Thank you again for coming back and gracing our studio with your story. Thank you for your service. Congratulations on all your magnificent awards, and also for being vulnerable with our audience and letting them understand the nature of what Tourette's is. But it sounds to me, and if I can just sum this up quickly, that you have gone from ordinary to extraordinary. And I do find, and I thank you so very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Oh, did you have you're welcome. You're very welcome. Did you have a social media handles? Any social media handles that you want to share too?
Yeah, it's all Kristof Morrow. They're always, it's always Kristof Morrow, like my first and last name, that's it. All right, so TikTok and Instagram and there's more.
Okay.
TikTok and Instagram are the main ones that I use.
Okay, right, let me check. Yes, okay, you do have that. Yes, and you have your website is. Also you have your book on Amazon. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, the book is on Amazon.
Yes, excellent. The book that is on Amazon, everyone, is The Second Son, Volumes 1 and 2 by Kristof Morrow. Okay, thank you so much again for being here. I appreciate you, and enjoy your day. Thank you, Kristof.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye. Hey, everybody. Okay, so you can find a copy of this episode on coffeechatwithcamille.com. The title is Tourette's with author and award-winning journalist Kristof Morrow. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed it. Did you know that last week he and I had the same interview, and I didn't really realize that the studio was saying our engineers are working on I guess getting the studio up, but there was some kind of little some little window open that said that. Well, I didn't understand what it meant because everything else in the studio looked like it was going. I was like on the air, and my switchboard and everything is working wonderful. And then I go back after he and I have our interview. I go back to listen to the recording, and it just said blog talk or radio, and then the rest was just like an advertisement or something. And so our actual initial interview was lost. So this is why we are re-recording. I invited him back. He laughed out loud. He gave me that emoji, laugh out loud emoji when I told him what happened. So I'm very thankful to him for having a great sense of humor. Also for just being there. He's magnificent. And I want to thank you, the listeners, for listening to us. You can comment on Blog Talk Radio or Facebook. If you have any comments, Apple, on Spotify, anywhere where you see us or there's streaming music, you can find us generally. I also saw us at iHeartRadio now. So I'm very excited about that. And you can find all episodes at coffeechatwithcamille.com. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. I have 2 more guests coming up. So, I think it's 2 more. Yeah, I'll check. Anyway, thank you for listening. Bye, everybody.